every work has its own identity and signature, and it has its own language. And each one is inspired by different, if you want, not just context, but different spirits, if you want, creative or artistic spirits. And I think it took a long time also for me to write Dust. It was my first novel. But I remember my late friend Binya telling me part of my struggle was that I was trying to write it in the way I thought it should be written, rather than let the book, if you want, let the story tell you, if that makes sense. Let the story guide you. And that's the story that emerged. And I think the other thing is to understand that not every book is for everybody. So books also choose their people. So there are those who find it hard, and there are those who have read it about 12 times. Books find their own people, and also books become, sometimes you ripen in a certain way, and suddenly the book, it becomes clearer for you when you've reached a certain age or you've gone through certain things. Yvonne is a human in progress and in process. I think more and more, the older I grow, the more I realize that the answer to that particular question, what does it mean to be human, is probably the last thing that you learn, a soul discovers just before they transition. And every single process of encounter becomes, like filling in a puzzle. But I think the writing, the journey, the other identity as the writer, the writing is the way I use, is my method for trying to make sense of that particular question. The way an accountant uses their accounting to make sense of some of the puzzles of the world. I think that's both the wonder. I think it's the wonder and the mystery of our humanity. Certain characters will absolutely reflect my points of view, for example, or my questions. Sometimes, very rarely do I teach, but when I do teach, I always invite my participants to ask, what are the questions, what are the themes in the world that piss you off? Because those provide you with the fuel, the energy. What are the things that you're most puzzled about? So that provides the fuel for the stories that emerge. And then the characters show up, and then you find characters. But I think it's the other thing, or the other lesson I learned from my great mentor and friend Binyavanga, is don't get in the way of your story, and your characters have free will. So I think so when I was struggling with Dust, the early days, I think that was the problem. I was trying to construct a character the way I thought the character should be, rather than let the character emerge. And sometimes characters can take a year. Sometimes characters can emerge at once. Sometimes characters emerge over 5 years. So I think also, learning to be patient, to allow the characters to be who they are, rather than what I insist they should be. What is most annoying is that the same values and courtesies that have been extended to both the Russians and Ukrainians were never extended to non-European cultures. And I find it very hard to sit still with that level of not just hypocrisy, but the idea that there are humans that are more human than others. It's very George Orwell. So this barbarism that is directed at our students in distress in Ukraine, I think that's the most symbolic. What it represents is a certain void, a certain emptiness in the human being that will even take advantage of children, of young people who all they want to do is go home, and will transform these young people into scapegoats and pour terror into their innocent lives, even though you have been so there's that. It is that's the most scary thing, the void and the wound that in the human being that can turn humans into, not even animals have better manners, but turn humans into demons. It kind of makes you think then, where is where is the human being safe, and where will the African be safe in the world if even the superficial if even if even in the super if a simple situation like that can turn into such hatred, into a symbol of such profound hatred, where can the individual be safe? And how long for how long will this madness, this lunacy, this hatred of others, just because of something as simple and as beautiful as the color of skin, how long will it continue? I also worry about our own African continent. We are the wealthiest continent, and yet we project such extreme poverty in mind, imagination, and even ideas of our future. It's almost as if I think, we know what to do, and yet we end up with a kind of leadership that doesn't even, that almost seems to, it's almost as if they become the very thing that the continent does not need. I have more stories in my head than I have time to write them. That's one. But what I do struggle with, James, and so that nobody can think everything is perfect, is a sense of, I guess, is it? Somebody told me, do not ever use negative words on yourself, but why lie? Indiscipline. I get so wonderfully distracted. I shouldn't be on Twitter, for example. I should actually be writing a book, my book, yes. Or I like see, and the thing about getting excited about life is that there's so many exciting things in life. So I guess the necessary anxiety that a new writer has when they're starting out, I think I've kind of taken it for granted. But yeah, I could do with a little more, focus. I know that some new writers or new aspirational writers are going to be reading this, so that I don't want to lie to them that it is smooth sailing. It's even the craft process, even you're finding your voice, finding the voice that is yours as a writer, so that you don't sound like anybody else, yet you have a very distinct voice. That's a process that took so much time. I don't know about you, but that took so much time for me, and I didn't realize that I needed that time. I needed to hear a particular writing voice. Let people not be confused by the idea writer's block. People think that it's a bit like marathon running, where you hit a wall and then you have to push through. That can also happen. But writer's block, there are a couple of things you have to disqualify. What is your own state of mind? What stuff are you dealing with that you have not resolved or reconciled? Okay. The excuse could be anything. It could be that you maybe just need to apologize to your sister or something like that. That's the thing. So that's question number one. Number two is, did you spend time on the premise of your story? Because sometimes when you write, you may start off a story without thinking through a premise. And a premise is just 7 lines, but it's the most important part, I think, in the story writing process. A lot of people jump into writing and say, oh, I've just been inspired, and you start to write. And then in the middle, you've run out of steam and energy and character meaning. So have you worked on your premise? And usually when people come with that, I say, go back to your premise. Okay, and then let resolve that. Part of the loving humanity is the loving of the sound of language. I love the sound of languages. So I used to be very fluent in French. I did French in school, but I was also very fluent. It came naturally to me. Also Spanish came very naturally to me. But those are side languages. Luo, Nairobi Kiswahili. Actually Westland sides Nairobi Kiswahili, and then Kenglish.
I know.